What's up, everybody? This is Devin White, linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're listening to the LCC Network. Go Bucks.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Commissioner's Clubhouse on the LCC Network for week 27 of the fantasy offseason. We are right in the middle, as you guys are listening to it at least, we're right in the middle of the fantasy waiver wire. We've got a lot going on. And on top of that,
there
you guys should know who the OBJ winner is. So the signed photo.
Yeah, we'll be doing that video. Isaac and I will be doing that video probably sometime over this weekend, I guess, to reveal the winner. So that'll be really cool. 8 more weeks of the off season, so 2 more months. Not a whole lot of time left. We've got a jam-packed off-season schedule for you guys, and today, I mean, we're ready to jump right into the show. We've got running back positional rankings. We're going to do a few of these: wide receivers, linebackers, DBs, and then quarterbacks later with something else. On top of some of the LCC stuff that we got to finish up for the offseason. So, Isaac, you want to introduce yourself before we jump into the show, man?
Hi, I'm Isaac. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet everyone.
We should have just skipped. We should have just skipped it, Patrick.
We should have.
So, quick question before we jump into the main event here. So, today we've got positional rankings. We went 1 through 36, which is RB1 through RB3s, basically. And if we haven't explained this before, an RB1 in any positional one is 1 through 12. A 2 is 13 through 24. And then a 3 is 25 through 36. At least in our league, because we have 12 per conference. So, quick question to you guys. What running backs do we have outside of our consensus top 36 that you think can finish above there, kind of outperform their ranking right now and be fantasy relevant this season?
All right, I'll take that bullet first. It's me. I got a private invite to the Buccaneers this summer, and I'm really going to show out.
You joke about that?
Yeah,
you joke about that, but you could probably be their starting running back.
Next mic, I'll start. Next mic, I'll start right here. No, my guy is the old man in Washington, Adrian Peterson. The 33-year-old ran for 1,000 yards last season, finished as a running back 16. Geis, Thompson, Love are all coming off major injuries in 2018. So AP's back, and he's going to surprise us all once again like he did last year.
Well, they re-signed him, too, which was a huge deal, considering that they could have just let him walk because they had, Darius Geis and a crowded backfield there.
The old man is back in Washington. I said the old man's back.
Yeah, but that wasn't clear to people listening that he was re-signed, necessarily.
Okay, the old man signed an additional contract to play for the Washington Redskins, starting running back, potentially.
Yeah. I actually like this. We have him outside of our consensus top 36. At least I do, because they're so crowded. We don't know who's going to get it. But I love this pick. He could absolutely finish in the top 36 and be a very relevant running back this year. Absolutely. Pat, do you have anybody or want to make any comments?
I've got
on AP?
I could definitely see AP finishing inside the top 36. But I don't just have one guy, I have two, because they're both on the same team, and either one of these guys could easily finish in the top 36, in my opinion. That's John Kelly or Mr. Henderson out in LA playing for the Rams, backups for Todd Gurley. We all saw what happened at the end of last year. We saw how desperate they were. They had C.J. Anderson out there playing, and he played good. It's evident that the Rams have a good offensive line. What's not evident is what kind of role Todd Gurley is going to be playing this year. Is he going to be more reserved in terms of the way they use him, or is he going to be full-fledged out there like we're used to seeing him play? And I could easily see John Kelly or Henderson coming in there and getting a lot of those catches and really racking up some receiving yards and putting themselves in the top 36. I mean, I could easily see someone rostering one of these guys as a backup, in a desperate week.
Yeah, I mean, if our Todd Gurley ranking is not kind to him, especially where he finished last season.
Yeah.
So I think there's some concern from all of us that he may share the workload or may even, not participate, some. So I definitely could see one of his backups coming in and performing. I think it'd be Darrell Henderson personally, but It's absolutely possible. One of those guys could come in and be an RB3 this season. Isaac, anything from
And
you?
that's not just us,
Sure.
I think, bad about Gurley. That's kind of consensus across fantasy football right now. You go to any ranking on the internet, and you're going to see Gurley way further down than he would have last year.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you guys this. I saw a mock draft recently where Todd Gurley, in a standard league, right, where Todd Gurley always goes in the top 3. He was the 303 in one of the drafts. He was picked in the 3rd round in a mock draft. That's how worried people are. And his standard ADP right now, so across the board, all mock drafts, he's at the 203 right now. So there's some people picking him higher. There's people picking him lower. That's his standard ADP, which is a huge drop to where it's been the last few seasons. So there's definitely worry there. Yeah, I've got Peyton Barber here. We joked about Tampa needing a running back. If this is a big if he can win the starting job in Tampa and keep the starting job in Tampa, he can be successful in a Bruce Arians offense. I like Peyton Barber. A lot of people hate Peyton Barber. It's an offense that I think is going to want to utilize the running backs a lot. Hopefully that's not Ronald Jones. But I think if he can win that starting job, he can actually be utilized well and could possibly finish as an RB3 this season. I'm not projecting that, but it's absolutely possible. So I don't know if you guys agree or disagree, or if you just want to move on.
No, I definitely agree with that.
I mean, I feel like Ronald Jones is a guy you need to watch out for. I know you don't like him, but 1 year on 15 carries is not a good sample size to label if you're a bust or not. So we'll see. But with the running back committees that are going in the NFL right now, they're both going to be utilized. Peyton Barber is going to be more of your between the tackles guy. Ronald Jones is going to be the 3rd down catching back. So, I mean, usually in a PPR league, yes, the Ronald Jones will get a lot of points for catching, and Peyton Barber will get some, but he's still going to be the more efficient back in Tampa, I predict, as a Bucs fan.
So is there any chance in your mind that he finishes as an RB3 or higher?
Yeah, definitely possible.
Okay.
Because, I mean, this is Ronald Jones' shot. They say he looks great in camp. Usually everybody always says their players look great in camp, so you can't really buy into that much. But it's Peyton Barber's job to lose. He was the starter last year. He's going to be the starter again this year. We didn't draft anybody. We didn't sign anybody. It's up to them. It's open competition. Bruce Arians came out and said he's not going to pay a lot of money for a running back. He's just going to, draft and develop his guys. So he feels really confident in these guys. And Peyton Barber's talented. He has that bloodline with the Barbers, Tiki, and what was the other guy? Marion Barber?
Yeah.
Yep.
No, wait.
Yeah.
Well, he was in Dallas. Marion Barber was. I don't know.
Yeah.
Was he in Tampa?
Yeah.
Talking about Rondé Barber?
Well, yeah. Rondé and Tiki are twins. And then you have Marion Barber, which was their cousin. So this is another descendant of the Barber bloodline. So, I mean, they have a lot of football history and even running backs. I mean, with Marion
House
and
Barber.
Yeah, exactly. And Tiki, I mean, it's strong. So, I mean, he's good. And I think he could break out this year on the Arians. Could, not will.
Cool. Yeah, could. All these guys are outside of our top 36, but possibly could get in there. All right, guys. So, like I said, this episode, it's all positional rankings for running back. So we'll dive right in here and kind of start breaking it down for you. All right, guys. So you want to just maybe go through our top 10 first, list them real quick, and then if there's anyone we want to talk about, we can kind of dive into it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Plan. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. So we all got these ranked. So we each put it together our own rankings, and then we put a consensus ranking together. So top 10 consensus here. We've got Saquon Barkley at 1, Christian McCaffrey at 2, Ezekiel Elliott at 3, Alvin Kamara at 4, David Johnson at 5, Melvin Gordon at 6, Le'Veon Bell 7, James Conner is 8, Todd Gurley is 9, and Joe Mixon is 10.
Go two more because we got 36
okay,
guys.
Yes. All right, so we'll do our RB1s. Okay, so RB1s,
Yep.
11, Damien Williams, and 12 is Dalvin Cook. This is a consensus. It's not exactly similar to mine, but this is a consensus I like a lot, and I think could be very accurate. Pat Pat, you had Christian McCaffrey first. We had Saquon Barkley first. Do you see any regression for McCaffrey, or you just see him?
Wait. Before he goes into that, I just want to point out, you guys don't know, but I had this consensus nailed on the head, except for I had Dalvin Cook ahead of Damian Williams at the very end, but everything else I had to the T. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, my love for Damian Williams literally shot him up the charts, which we'll talk about here
for
in a
real.
minute.
For real. Which
Pat,
you're gonna have to explain that one.
I'll explain it. Don't worry, I'll explain it. So with Pat, is there some bias here because you're a Panthers fan who now owns Christian McCaffrey, or do you actually see him outperforming Saquon Barkley?
Biased.
No, I swear, I actually do see him outperforming. And here's the deal: Christian McCaffrey did excellent throughout the entire season last year in our league, and even with Cam Newton out, he was still good. So imagine a Cam Newton healthy the entire season. That is what I'm looking forward to in Christian McCaffrey. Saquon was great, and I could easily see Saquon being number one. I don't think that's totally outside the realm of possibility. But I do have these two guys neck and neck. I gave the edge to Christian because of that catching ability. This man is the PPR running back, in my opinion, for whole point.
I was about to say, you said in you make sure you put in your opinion on there because Saquon is my guy. But continue your argument.
Yeah. Jameson and Isaac both have Saquon first. Isaac had him second. Jameson has him fourth. I had him first. So that kind of gives you an idea of how he ended up where he is in our consensus at number 2. But no, I'm extremely excited. I think the Panthers offense in general is going to be better this year, which usually is a telltale sign of how a PPR running back is going to perform. You don't see a lot of guys that are, in crappy offenses doing really well. And Christian McCaffrey was still really well last year with, in my opinion, a pretty crappy Panthers offense.
Okay. Yeah, and I have him the lowest. There's a lot of, even though I'm the closest on the overall consensus, there's a lot of me being really high or really low on guys compared to you. And so that's just one example there with Christian McCaffrey. Another guy I wanted to point out that I was higher on, James Conner, over you guys. I'm really excited about him this year. The Steelers only utilize one running back. They don't tend to run them in a committee. He was hyper efficient last year when he was healthy. And I think this is an offense that is going to have to rely a little more on the run game without Antonio Brown there. Is still a Hall of Fame quarterback. So I'm super, super excited about James Conner this year. You both have him behind guys like David Johnson. I have him behind David Johnson. You guys have him both behind Melvin Gordon and Le'Veon Bell. Is there a reason for that? Like, do you not like him, or do you just like other guys more than him?
I like other guys' catching ability in PPR leagues more than James Conner.
James Conner catches the ball.
Yeah.
But not as good as David Johnson, Melvin Gordon, Elliott, McCaffrey, Barkley. No.
I would say he catches the ball as well as Melvin Gordon, but not David Johnson or Christian McCaffrey. None of those guys. I wouldn't think he would be utilized in the same way.
Did you guys catch the Ballers new episode yesterday?
Yeah, when they're in New York.
Yeah, they talked about James Conner and how it was hold or fold him, and they were saying that two of them said that they were going to fold on him.
No, two of them were holding on him. Andy was folding on him because of his value relative to other running backs.
Exactly.
But Mike and Jason loved it.
And then the fact that the first 8 games he was good, and then there's the last 8 games he just fell off. Like he was started out like full steam ahead, and then he started running out of gas towards the end. So they were kind of worried about his sample size. Can you really base, drafting super high on a decent season last year and an excellent first half? So it's like risk versus reward on that. So that's why I had him a little bit later.
He saw some regression. He did average less than Melvin Gordon. But he averaged way more than David Johnson. He did see some regression last year at the end. I think most of it was his injury. He missed 3 games. He kind of came back in part-time when he was back healthy. Well, healthy, quote unquote healthy. So I'm hoping that had more to do with it than his actual ability, or his talent, I guess. But
I want to know why you guys are so low on Melvin Gordon. I mean, Jameson, you got him at 7. Pat, you got him at 8. and I got him at 5. Why are you guys not as high on him? Just his injury history or what? Because he's been a stud the past couple of years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my biggest drawback of Melvin Gordon is the injury history. It's starting to me. There's some red flags there with that, but also like the same answer you gave for James Conner, Isaac. I like some of these guys just better than Melvin Gordon. I like their situations better. The fact that some of these guys are going to be playing from behind are going to have to put up, 35 points every week to be able to keep up with their crappy defense. That's kind of why I have Melvin Gordon at number 8 for myself, at least. And plus the injury history, man, that's a huge, huge drawback for me. I like a guy who's consistent. I know he has a track record of being healthy. He has a consistent track record overall. And while Melvin Gordon is very, successful when he's on the field, that's just it. I need to see him on the field more before I put him any higher on my list.
Yeah, because he's a pretty consistent 12-game starter, and then he usually misses 4 games a season.
Yeah.
So it's and it's usually the last 4 weeks or the middle 4 is when he misses it.
Yeah, when you need him the most. Yeah.
Yeah, he missed 4 games last year, and when he came back, 21 and 14 points to limp into the offseason. That and it's not just Melvin Gordon, it's the fact that they have a great backup running back in Austin Eckler that they utilize frequently. Yeah. Austin Eckler finished RB22 in our league last year. That's a guy they're going to use. That they're not afraid to take some carries away from Melvin Gordon. They're about to pay him a lot of money, and they're going to want to. I think they're going to want to protect that investment. And I don't hate him. He's still number 7 on my list. I just love the bell cow of James Conner. I love the receiving ability of Christian McCaffrey and David Johnson. And it's not always just about hating him, but there's a lot of guys ahead of him that I think are super talented and have a lot of opportunity.
All right, one last question.
Okay.
Le'Veon Bell. Pat, you have him at 5. I have him at 7. Jameson, you have him at 9. Why are you so high on him, Pat? Besides bias that you're an owner in him in another league, because it seems like every guy that you have on your team, he gets a tick higher on your little rankings.
Well, I had these guys ranked. This is kind of where I had them before I ever got a lot of these guys. But Le'Veon Bell, name me another weapon in New York. Name me one.
Robbie Anderson.
Robbie Anderson's not a weapon. That's a cane.
Well,
Le'Veon Bell is dude. Le'Veon is a damn bazooka, and that is the only talent on that entire team. And I hear the argument, oh, well, they're going to stack the box when they play New York. He's not going to be able to do much. Listen, man, in a PPR format, that's great. Let them stack the box, because that means they're going to have to force the ball to the outside with Le'Veon Bell and do screen passes. Use him as a check down, man. I think Le'Veon Bell is being slept on because of the fact he's in New York. But I see that as an opportunity of a lifetime as a fantasy owner, not as a Jets fan, not as I think the Jets can be good. No. Do I think the Jets offense is going to be good? No. I think Le'Veon Bell is going to be forced to be good because of the situation. And that's what I absolutely love about Le'Veon Bell.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty fair. Do you guys want me to explain my Damien Williams, or have we already talked enough about him? Because I have him at 8.
Dude,
and you guys got him at 12.
You got.
I think you should explain that.
No.
That's a huge jump.
Dude, you've explained that in 4 different episodes this offseason.
I know. That's why I was asking, because I know that everyone listening just went, please, for the love of God, do not talk about Damien Williams anymore.
Oh my God, it was like Pat with Christian McCaffrey last year.
So I won't talk about Damien. I'll just talk about other guys below him when we get to that point. So do we have to talk about Todd Gurley? We already talked about we all have him 9 or lower. I've got him at 11. You guys got him at 9. Should we talk about that at all, or have we kind of beat that dead horse too?
We already beat the dead horse with Kelly and Henderson and the injury history and everything on there. And trying to,
all right, cool. Just want to make sure.
Real quick for you guys. All right, so 30 seconds or less. Try to answer this. Which one of these top 12 guys do you think has the best chance of falling out of the top 12?
Damien Williams.
Damien Williams.
Exactly.
Damien. As much as I love him, I love him. But he absolutely has the best chance of falling because he's not a locked and loaded 5-year guy like these other guys are, and he doesn't have the $15 million investment. As much as I love him and think he will be a great running back, he has to be the starter, and he will be. I mean, as long as they don't bring in someone else, Carlos Hyde. Don't worry about Carlos Hyde. But yeah, he has the best chance of falling out of the top 12 because the Chiefs' offense will regress a little bit.
My second guy would be Joe Mixon.
See, my second guy would be Todd Gurley. So if he goes down or even
he's already at 11 for you. So going he more could spots is not that much.
Exactly. He could fall to 13 or 14. Boom, he's at the top 12.
but we're talking about consensus. He's at 9.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, he could. I mean, beyond that, Joe Mixon maybe. I mean, I don't want to just overrate the one injury on the offensive line, though. I mean, it's important, but should we drop a guy that much for one hurt?
Well, he also had a terrible rookie season, and he had one decent season last year. Does he continue on his good season, or does he go back to his bad season?
To me, that's a good thing. He's improving. It would have been worse if he had a great rookie season and then regressed.
But he could regress in this year.
Yeah, but you can't rank a guy that he could regress when he's done nothing but improve up to this point in his career.
Okay, we'll see.
I mean, he could. I like him though. I like him at number 10. I think that's a solid number for Joe Mixon.
Well, considering each one of us had him at 10, yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay, so let's do some RB2s here because these are some guys that are actually available. Right now, we've talked about guys that aren't available. So number 12 or 13 in our consensus. Sorry, we got Leonard Fournette at number 13. 14 is Nick Chubb. 15 is Devonta Freeman. 16 Marlon Mack. 17 Kerryon Johnson. 18 Josh Jacobs. 19 Kenyon Drake. 20 Aaron Jones. 21 David Montgomery. And 22 Lamar Miller. Let's do some RB.
Keep going.
Oh, 24.
You got
That's
two
right.
more.
Sorry. 23 Phillip Lindsay. And 24 Mark Ingram. So these are RB2s in our projected rankings. Let's talk about some RB2s, guys. We've got Isaac, you're the highest on Nick Chubb at 13. Pat, you're the lowest at 16. Have you bought Pat? You were the guy that was hyping him up. It seems like since the regular season ended, are you buying into the fact that he could miss some opportunity after week 10?
No, I just think he got rid of him as an owner, so he's just a little bit
he's just lower on him now.
On his rankings. I told you. That's all about the rankings.
I did notice when we did these, everyone's biased. Like we all three of us are higher on guys that we have or have recently had in fantasy football. All three of us.
Well, I'll put it this way. For me, I can't speak for you guys, but I didn't intentionally put players in certain positions because I got rid of them or I got them. I got those players because I knew they were going to be at that spot.
Nah,
that's where
it was his subconscious. It was his subconscious. Just don't let him lie to you.
Now, Nick Chubb, I've got him at 16. I've been saying he is an excellent RB2, and that's what number 16 is. He's in the top tier of the RB2s, a guy that could easily end up as a low-end RB1. But, yeah, I mean, that is obviously something I think everyone's worried about Nick Chubb is the fact that you do have, a stud running back right behind him. But not just that, but now the Browns actually have a good aerial attack, which it does make me wonder, are they going to do that ground and pound type football with Nick Chubb? Or is he going to be more of a supporting cast to a guy like OBJ who's going to be snagging every pass, or not every pass, but you get what I'm saying, who's going to be lighting it up out there for the Browns?
Okay. Another guy here, Isaac, you have Aaron Jones at 15 in your ranking.
That is
Patrick,
high.
that's what I was talking about. As soon as I saw Isaac's ranking, I was like, bullshit. I was like, there's no way that happened. Isaac or Patrick, you've got him at 22,
No way.
and I'm kind of almost smack in the middle. I'm at 20. Does anybody want to explain themselves there? Like either Patrick or Isaac? I mean, there definitely looks like some bias there.
No, I promise. Just like Pat said.
I promise that.
Just like Pat said. I agree with him.
I knew Aaron Jones was going to be in that same tier as a Kerryon Johnson, Marlon Mack, Kenyon Drake. It's just it came down to who do I like better? Who's got the better quarterback? And who's better than Aaron Rodgers out of those people? Nobody. So that's why he was a little bit higher. He could catch the ball. He's not just a ground and pound guy. We got a new head coach, new system. The biggest thing is Rodgers came out and said he loves Aaron Jones, which is huge for his potential in that offense because he's the one that says yay or nay. If he doesn't like you, he's not going to give you the ball. You're lucky if you get on the field at that point. He's basically the GM of the team in a way. So he's very high on him. They're going to want to utilize him. New head coach, new scheme. It's all looking up for Aaron Jones. Yes, Pat came a couple weeks ago and talked about the past running backs in Green Bay and how they don't fare well. Well, there's always outliers in that situation. I mean, we had Eddie Lacy for 2 years. So I just would rather have Aaron Jones at that point over these guys.
Okay. Two more guys here. Pat, you've got Marlon Mack 5 positions higher than Isaac. So one of you, Isaac hates him. Patrick, you seem to love him. Does anybody want to explain their situation there? Like, Pat, you've got him ahead of guys like Leonard Fournette, Kerryon Johnson, Josh Jacobs. These are guys that we typically have above. Nick Chubb. We have him below all these guys in our rankings. I mean, what is it about Marlon Mack that you have to get him ahead of guys like Leonard Fournette?
Real quick.
Yeah. So
Mine, he's got no hands. Fournette, Chubb, Johnson, Drake, Jacobs, all can catch. This is a PPR league. That's my argument. I'm done.
Okay. That's my thought too.
Okay. So Marlon Mack, just to paint the picture for you guys listening, again, he's 16 in our consensus. He's 14 on my list. So not a big jump there, but I do have him as one of the better RB2s that you could get, especially in our offseason waiver wire. Here's why I'm big on him. Sure, he can't catch, and that is a huge drawback for me. In fact, that's the only reason why I have him as an RB2 and not a low-end RB1 is because he's not going to get you those catches. He's going to get you rushing yards. And with the Colts offense, as explosive as it is, I think they can go up big against some of the teams that they're going to be playing this year. And they're going to be trying to manage that clock with a guy like Marlon Mack who can secure the ball and get them yards and keep running the clock out. That's why I love about Marlon Mack. There's no one behind him to really vulture TDs away from him. Rushing yards, sure, they could roll in a guy to get catches like they did last year. But again, I think the rushing yards and those first downs, which again, first downs are huge in our league compared to most fantasy leagues. That's another thing that I love about Marlon Mack is the ability to get the short yardage plays. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit higher than on Jameson, who has him at 16 at our same consensus spot, and Isaac at 19. But yeah, no, I'm super stoked about him. He's actually one of my, I'll go ahead and say it now, he's one of the guys I'm definitely targeting within the first round of the waiver wire.
All right, one more thing I just wanted to add. The Ballers did talk about Marlon Mack, and they talked about how he was only efficient when the Colts were beating the crap out of their opponent. When they were down or when they were tied, they used Naheem Hines because he's more of a pass-catching back.
Because Marlon Mack can be game scripted out.
Exactly.
Running backs that can't catch the ball can be game scripted out. Jordan Howard's, Derrick Henry's, those type of guys. And that's my only.
Don't get me wrong.
Marlon Mack falls in that situation.
Marlon Mack is definitely the type of running back. Although I have him at 14 on my list, he's a guy that can definitely lose you a fantasy game if he's your starter. And that's in any scoring format because of the fact that he can easily get game scripted out just as easily as a guy like Nick Chubb. That's why I have him as an RB2 and not as an RB1, because that does worry me if I'm using Marlon Mack as a week in and week out starter.
Okay. Two more guys I wanted to point out before we move on to some of the RB3s. David Montgomery, a rookie. He's our highest. Well, he's not the highest, right behind Josh Jacobs, but I think we all have them fairly close. He seemed to be what we all projected, an RB2, a late RB2 before the rookie draft, and that's where he is in our consensus rankings. Significantly ahead of Tariq Cohen. And then, Pat, you've got Phillip Lindsay 5 spots higher than both I and Isaac. We both got him at 25. You have him at 20. Are you worried about Royce Freeman at all? Because you don't address him anywhere in your rankings, and both me and Isaac do.
And he's coming off an injury too. Phillip Lindsay is, so he might miss the first couple games of the season.
He could, but again, I think no Broncos fan out there will tell you that man, I really don't think we need Philip Lindsay in our lineup, because they do, dude. Especially with Joe Flacco as their quarterback, they cannot throw the deep ball. All right, it is going to be the Philip Lindsay show when he's in there. Now, yeah, it may take a week, 2 weeks or so before you see him play. But dude, Philip Lindsay, when he's on the field, he is a legitimate starter pretty much every week. I love some Philip Lindsay. Royce Freeman, get out of here, man. I don't take him as a serious threat to Lindsay's job. Lindsay also has great rushing ability, in my opinion. Freeman, he's a little bit average at everything, whereas Lindsay, I feel like he can easily be the feature back and probably will be the feature back. That's why I have him at number 20 on my list. So kind of as like a low end RB2.
Okay.
I'm just kind of worried because I was a Philip Lindsay owner, was they had a pretty decent capital in drafting Royce Freeman because he was supposed to be the guy. And I mean, to his credit, Philip Lindsay came out of nowhere. He was undrafted, signed, and just was a complete stud for him. So are they going to turn to the running back committee where Philip Lindsay turns to the Kareem Cohen and Royce Freeman turns to Jordan Howard, and neither one of them are great, but they're both solid? That's what I'm kind of nervous about.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
In all fairness, before we move on, Philip Lindsay did finish his RB12 in our league last year and was pretty consistent. 26, 26, 20, 29, 34, 21, 38, 32. Not a ton of boom games, but a guy you could plug in week to week and feel pretty confident about.
Yeah, he was my flex player last year. I know you guys thought I was crazy starting him over a defensive back, but he was just so consistent. It was very hard. That's guaranteed points right there.
And if he gets checked down opportunities, like Pat mentioned, I mean, he could significantly rise. So we'll see.
Dude, let me tell you some of the big games he had. He had 54 points one week. He had 38 another. And he also had 45 in week 1. So he has that potential to really go off. But he can't bite you. I mean, you know, there is that concern with the injury. There is a concern that, you know, it's a whole new team. So there's no telling how they'll use him. But I still feel pretty confident that the Broncos are going to have to throw the ball to win games. And I see Lindsay getting those catches.
Okay. Well, we'll move on to some of the RB3s here. These are guys. A lot of these guys should be available and should be looked at on the waiver wire. Number 25 consensus, James White. 26.
Did you?
What?
You did Mark Ingram on the last one, didn't you?
Yeah, we didn't talk about him, but we did Mark Ingram. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Number 24. 25, James White. 26, Chris Carson. So he has dropped way down on all of our opinions. Sony Michel, 27. 28, Tariq Cohen. 29, Derrick Henry. 30, Miles Sanders. 31, Tevin Coleman. 32, Latavius Murray. 33, Jordan Howard. 34, LaShawn McCoy. 35, Rashad Penny. And 36, Austin Eckler. So most of these guys are available, if not, no, not all of them. Most of these guys. Where do we want to go first? Chris Carson was interesting to me. 26 across the board for all of us. And
yeah, one of the few we all agree on.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. He finishes RB 13 last season, so literally the first RB2. Why do we all hate him so much this year? What is
Rashad Penny's draft capital? They traded up in the first round and got him. He started showing out a little bit towards the end of last year. They're going to want to put him more in that offense, especially with how much they invested in him. So that means less carries for Chris Carson. And it's kind of the same situation as last time. Chris Carson's not the best catcher, but Penny is. So is it Penny going to become the Philip Lindsay or Tariq Cohen of the offense, and Chris Carson become Jordan Howard and Royce Freeman? It's all up in the air.
In an offense that I believe is going to run the ball less than they did last year. And I think you're right. A healthy Rashad Penny with a first-round draft capital is a big deal. Teams, they don't like to just waste a first-round pick. They're going to try to utilize him. Pat, is that kind of what your thoughts were too? Is that why we're all so low on him?
And they traded up to get Penny at that first round.
Yeah. So we all have a low grade. Maybe we're all overreacting and he's way too low, but none of us, I think, would be happy to have him as anything more than a late depth piece. Because Rashad Penny, as we just mentioned, did fall into our consensus number 35. So we all have some belief that they're going to split the load in Seattle. So Stoney Michel has dropped significantly from the end of the offseason. The knee injury, the Damien Harris draft there in New England, Rex Burkhead's back healthy, James White's catching passes. None of us like Stoney Michel, it seems like. I almost kept this guy too, so I'm really glad I didn't. But any thoughts there?
I'm a big football fan of his, but fantasy, just with the injury and then that crowded backfield and them drafting another guy who has apparently been doing really, really well in camp as the number one guy because of Michel being injured. I mean, that's another thing the Ballers talked about. I'm sorry I keep going back to it, but they had a really good point. It's whose job is it to lose? Is it open competition new year, or is it Stoney Michel did so well in the playoffs, it's his job to lose at that point? Or is it Damien Harris, if he goes in, is Michel going to have to compete to win the job back? That's the biggest. You don't know with how many running backs you have in that committee.
Yeah. No, that's kind of my thoughts too. Anything to add, Pat? I've got another guy I want to drag through the mud.
No, you're talking about a guy that could easily get game scripted out, just like some of the other guys we've mentioned. Stoney Michel is a big one, and we saw it last year. Definitely someone that could be good, but when he gets game scripted out, he gets game scripted out. Like, he's irrelevant. So that is a huge knockoff for me. But I'd still like to have him as a backup running back for sure.
Yeah, backup. If you could get him pretty cheap, it wouldn't hurt at all to hold on to him.
Yeah.
A guy that I hate.
Like, he'd be a great waiver wire signing.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. A guy that I hate, he finished his RB15 in our league last year, only because his last few weeks, 85, 60, 29, and 25. Before that,
Derrick Henry.
Listen, before the 85 game, he only had 2 games all season long above 19 points. 2 games before he hit that game, and it's Derrick Henry. I don't want any piece of Derrick. I've got Derrick Henry at 29 in my rankings. I don't even want him. If he comes up in the draft, I'm going to skip right over him. I don't even know if he's available or not, but I don't want any piece of Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
like you have to put him in your top 36. But if it was my draft board, he would not be on it. He would be scratched out, like deleted, nothing to do with me. And It's same with a couple other guys on here. Another guy I want to talk just real quick, Tevin Coleman. That's another just crowded backfield. With Jarrett McKinnon, Matt Breida, then you got Tevin Coleman coming in. It's just crazy. But go back to Derrick Henry. I just wanted to point that out before I forget about it.
And Derrick Henry, I have a question on here on the show doc. What running backs inside of the top 36 are you not excited about having if you had to draft them? And Derrick Henry is my answer, along with Tevin Coleman and maybe LaShawn McCoy. Even though they're in my 36, I'm not touching these guys. I'm letting them run right by me. I'm just not interested in what they have to offer. I know, Pat, you love those workhorse backs, and you are the highest on Derrick Henry. No surprise. But I don't think you love him. You still have him at 27.
Oh, no. Definitely not, man.
Don't lie.
No, seriously. Dude, trust me, I love using Derrick Henry in Madden, but I don't want him on my fantasy football team. Like, Derrick Henry, I've got him, let's see here. I am a little bit higher on him than you guys. I have him at 27, so as like a better RB3, and that's going to have to see him. If I'm a guy that's going to own 3 running backs, if he's my third, I'm okay with that. No big deal. But I definitely don't want him as a guy that, all right, I'm going to have to start Derrick Henry as my running back. Like, that would scare me. That would terrify me as an owner.
If you're going to use him while you have a bye week as your starting running back, you're going to hold your breath whole weekend.
Yeah.
He's just more of, he's on my team. He's going to be good some games, but I'm never going to use him.
He's the Amari Cooper of running backs, in my opinion.
Damn, you're just calling out all of...
Amari Cooper's better than that.
I'm about to say,
come on.
Yeah, he is.
You're calling out all of Billy Ray's team. He's got both of those guys on there.
Oh, does he? Does he have Derrick Henry?
Yeah, he
Oh,
beat
wow.
you. Didn't he have Derrick Henry in the lineup when he beat you? Or was that the week after?
That was the week after. Thank God. I did not suffer the 85-point game or whatever that was that happened because I was on a bye week that week. Thank God. I would have been livid. I would have hated Derrick Henry more than Amari Cooper if that had happened to me.
Yeah.
So, so
Uh,
we mentioned a lot of guys here in the RB3s, but I will say this: there's a lot of these guys that could finish higher than an RB3, like Miles Sanders,
Oh yes.
uh,
Yes.
Chris Carson, James
No, I'm
White,
leaving it Miles Sanders.
Rashad Penny. I mean, these are guys that even though we have them this low, they could easily finish as RB2s in the right situation.
Austin Eckler, since he
I'll tell you
finished
right
22
now.
last year.
Austin Eckler, yep.
Yeah. One guy, dude, I'm super pumped about is Mark Ingram. I am so excited about Mark Ingram in Baltimore. I think this is a great opportunity for not only for Mark Ingram, but for the Ravens too. Man, I'm telling you, dude, do not sleep on Mark Ingram. He's definitely a guy to think about either, in later rounds of the draft and stuff when you're kind of looking to build depth on your roster. He could be a guy that could be very sneaky. It could easily be a good RB2.
Yeah.
I just want to point out he's in the RB2 section and we're in RB3s.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
good to know.
We have him at 24 in the consensus, Pat.
Oh yeah.
You're on your
He did. Yeah,
You're on your column.
I've got him. Yeah, I'm looking at mine. I had him as number 25, so just right there at the cutoff.
Yeah.
But super excited though to see kind of what he does.
It's interesting.
Who would be?
Go ahead, Isaac.
Go ahead.
No, I was
you
just
go
going to
ahead.
say, it's interesting that we have David Montgomery ahead of Tariq Cohen and Miles Sanders ahead of Jordan Howard. Even though Miles Sanders and Howard are pretty close in our rankings, each of us have the rookies ahead of their veteran counterparts. And the consensus reflects the same thing. So, I mean, why is that? We think it's just the
Rookie
youth,
running backs,
the draft
man.
capital, the history of rookie running backs recently, or
The history of rookie running backs recently, it's just so crazy how so many young ones have just been absolute monsters for their teams. Just counterpart. If you think of wide receivers, how many rookie wide receivers have been monsters? None since like 2004. You have Calvin Ridley, who was decent and then just fell off the half the year. I mean, name another guy that was a rookie since Mike Evans and Odell and Kelvin Benjamin and all of them came out in 2014. It's nobody. But running backs, it's been a consistent crop every year where they've been fantasy relevant and they've been producing on the field. So
yeah,
it's just more of a you learn from the history and you have to go with the flow.
cool.
I couldn't think of the word I was thinking of.
I like the talent over the guys they have there because they're both pretty high draft capital. Miles Sanders in the second round, David Montgomery in the third, but they traded up to get him over guys like Jordan Howard, who's a free agent acquisition on his last year's rookie deal. They just got him because he's cheap. And then they've got Tariq Cohen there, who's not going to be between the tackles in Chicago. So those guys are definitely worth looking at. What about Latavius Murray stepping into Mark Ingram's role in New Orleans?
I saw somewhere that the second running back in New Orleans has been fantasy relevant for how many years consecutive with Mark Ingram? Since Alvin Kamara came in the league, he's been at least an RB2 or RB3? You guys know?
I don't remember, but I read that same stat. The Saints have been like the number 1 or number 2 RB crop for years in fantasy. I read that same thing.
Exactly. So that's saying a lot with how many carries and targets. Latavius Murray, he's talented. He's had shown up some games in the past where he can definitely be relevant. So this is like you said, this is the best running back committee with how the NFL is going and how most teams are using that now. This is a really, really good option too. Even though he's not a big name, he could really be a steal next year.
Yeah, I like him. If I had him as my third running back, I'd be really excited to have Latavius Murray.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because he is somebody that you could start on a bye week.
Yeah,
he's not like a Derrick Henry that you would be too nervous to start and he would just ride your bench the whole season. No, you could trust that Latavius Murray could perform for you.
Cool. Well, that's it for I got a few questions here, guys. We talked about one of them. Are there any guys in the top 15 besides the one we've mentioned that you could see falling out of there? Or maybe we'll open it up to maybe the top 20 in our consensus that you could see falling out of the top 20 besides guys that we've already mentioned?
Aaron
Freeman.
Jones could. Devonta Freeman, Aaron Jones, either one of those guys could fall out of the top 20.
Even like a guy like Leonard Fournette, who has injury history, is a guy that I'd be a little worried about falling out.
That hurts my chest to hear you say that, Patrick.
Like when he's healthy, he's great. I'm not saying that. It's just his injury history really worries me. That's why I say he could easily fall out.
Well, Dalvin Cook, for that matter, too, for injuries.
Yeah, same with him.
I trust him more being healthy than Leonard Fournette, which is saying a lot.
Why?
Considering
I mean, they've both been
Dalvin
hurt.
Cook has been hurt in college, been hurt, but I don't know. Just Fournette, I just do not trust him like for a full season. No offense, Jameson.
Well, their styles are a little different. I think Leonard Fournette's more of a through the tackles bruiser. He doesn't have the agility and the kind of awareness I think Dalvin Cook's got. But injury history, it's pretty similar. I mean, they've both missed significant parts of 2 seasons. They've both been injured in college.
I see you have Dalvin Cook ahead of Leonard Fournette.
I do. Yeah. Oh, if Dalvin Cook's healthy, I love Dalvin Cook. In an offense that wants to utilize him. I mean, they fired the offensive coach for not utilizing him last year. The offensive coordinator. Literally, I'm not making that up. So I love Dalvin Cook if he's healthy. But he is back because of his concern. Like talent-wise, I would have him ahead of Joe Mixon and maybe another guy or two. But yeah, he can't stay healthy yet. So we'll see. What about what guys maybe lower outside the top 15 could you see creeping up into the top 15?
The top 20, you mean?
Or maybe the top 20. Yeah, I mean, it really either one. We have Josh Jacobs at 18. I could see him getting into the top 15.
Well, it's not
if he
not,
gets
not that far of a jump.
I could see him getting.
Go ahead.
What? Maybe the top 12 if he gets a full workload. And there's no other running backs in Oakland.
I thought about Mark Ingram potentially jumping up.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing.
And then I know a lot of people are down on him, but Lamar Miller has been very surprising at how under the radar he's going next year when he really has no competition for the starting job. I mean, his backup is Deontay Foreman. I mean, who the hell is that? So
I actually like Deontay Foreman and Lamar Miller. I like Lamar Miller a lot.
Yeah, but I'm saying he could easily just scoot up there and surprise us all because we have him at 22. He could easily get in the top 20, right? Probably like 16 to 18 area.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. I like our consensus. Like we put it together. I like this list a lot. I think it's going to be really helpful to anyone who's looking at this and trying to decide going into the waiver wire what they want to do. We won't release this episode until Sunday, but we should I think we're trying to get this, our rankings up on the website before then, so you guys can kind of see it going into the waiver wire. So
yeah,
and we'll do this go ahead.
Are we going to show them our individual ones or just the consensus?
I think our individual ones would be fun too. Just they can kind of see how different we are on everybody. Yeah. You know,
cool.
I think that would be cool. And like I said, we're gonna do this. We're done for today, but we're actually gonna do this through the next few weeks. We've got wide receivers and tight ends. We've got linebackers. We've got DBs. And then we've got quarterbacks in another segment with something else. And then sprinkled in between that, we've got a few more of the LCC Fantasy 4 episodes to finish that up. And some pre-draft predictions where we do an entire episode before the draft about what we think is going to happen and game 1 predictions heading into the season. So we've got the entire offseason scripted out, ready to go. We're stoked to kind of be on the back end of it, and hope you guys continue joining us for this, and hopefully have some more NFL
and
players.
Listen and keep listening, guys. A lot of good material you guys are missing by not listening all the way through.
Well, I know
probably not hearing this right now.
I know some guys listen all the way through because we got some heated text messages at work on Monday, which is cool because my first thought wasn't, those jerks. My first thought was, hey, they listened to the whole thing. So I was more happy than anything. But yeah.
That's how I was. I was like, man, they're listening. Like we had 22 views last week. That's the most we've had in I think a 6 week period. So shout out to you guys. Really appreciate it. hope you guys do keep tuning in, because especially once we get to these defensive players, it's going to benefit a lot of you, especially you rookie owners out there. This is kind of new to you. Definitely take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, this is definitely going to help.
Yep. Cool. Well, that's it, guys. We hope you enjoyed it. We know it was just running backs, but hopefully if you had any questions or anything like that, this kind of helps a little bit. You can see it going into the waiver wire because a lot of these guys are still available. So well, that's it, guys. With that, we're out. Any other things before we sign off?
Nope, I'm good.
No. Oh, real quick. Also, again, I've put it in group me. It's on the message board, but you can trade into the off-season waiver wire. But if you make that trade, let's say the first round's already passed or your time to pick is already passed in the waiver wire in that round, you cannot get a player in that round. It's going to move on to the next one, and that's where you would get where you'd be eligible to pick. So definitely keep that in mind if you're wanting to get in and the clock's ticking. Can't stress that enough.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely put that in the group me in case they don't hear it here. So
I already did.
Okay, perfect. All right, cool, guys. Well, that's it. We're out. We will see you next week. Good luck on the waiver wire.